Hey, I'm Cole, and today I'm going over my top 5 hikes for New Zealand's South Island. I have a hidden gem in this list that you're not going to want to miss out on, so stay tuned for that. My wife and I just finished a 2-week vacation through the South Island. We were in a camper van the whole time, and we hiked almost every single day. We probably did more than a dozen big hikes, but I've narrowed it down to my top 5. The hikes are ranked in order, with the best saved for last. I'm so excited for you if you're planning a trip to New Zealand. We had a blast, and I hope to share some of that magic with you. If you want to open up your notes app or AllTrails, you can follow along with the video and save these hikes so that they don't escape your itinerary. Up first, we have the hike to Mueller Hut. This one starts in Mount Cook National Park. All the national parks are free to enter, by the way. They do charge you $10 to $15 per person for every night that you stay there, which was what we did. It was super nice because we were able to wake up and do the hike and then just sleep at the bottom when we were finished. And the hike will probably take all day. I think it could probably take around 6 to 8 hours for most people. The hike is 6 miles and it's incredibly steep almost the whole way. You gain 3,500 feet of elevation, and the views just get better the higher you climb. The Sealy Tarns are halfway up the hike. It's a nice place to take a break and relax and eat some snacks. Along the hike, there will be a lot of backpackers going up and down the trail, people that are staying in the hut. I think hauling all my gear up that trail would kind of suck, so I'm glad we just did it as a day hike. There's toilets at the top, and the hut was super tidy. Our fresh sandwiches tasted incredible as we sat there on the deck watching the glacier melt and hearing all the sounds of the ice cracking echoing in the mountains around us. Hiking back in the shade was also super refreshing, and we even got to see some kea birds playing in the rocks. And don't miss out on the other little tarns to the right of the trail as you're walking down. Those are amazing, and you don't want to miss out on those. Next up is Ben Lomond Peak. This one starts right in Queenstown, which is this tiny little town that's crammed between the mountain and the lake. So most people are gonna have to pay for parking. We were lucky enough to find free parking in this little neighborhood, and then we walked to the trailhead. This is another really steep, full-day hike that will probably take you around 8 hours. It's only about 7 miles round trip if you wanna skip the bottom section and pay to take the Skyline gondola partway up the mountain. If you're cheap like us, you can just take the Tiki Trail, which adds another 2.5 miles to your day. The total elevation gain with the Tiki Trail is close to 5,000 feet. You'll pass through some forests, then you'll go past the luge ride, then back through some really thick forest, and then you'll end up on this beautiful exposed rolling hill, and you'll pass this camouflage bathroom at the saddle, and then finally you'll scramble up to the top of the peak for some breathtaking views. Don't forget to stop at the observation deck on the way down, and then walk a few minutes into town over to the Ferg Burger for some delicious gelato and the best burger you'll ever taste. Just the idea of that Ferg Burger was the only thing keeping us going by the end of the hike, and it was such an awesome way to end our Queenstown experience. Coming in third place, we have Rob Roy Glacier. We jumped through a few hoops to get here, but it was all worth it. First off, it's a mission to get to. Starting from the town of Wanaka, it's about an hour drive up this bumpy road, and you have to cross these little streams called fords. I thought we were crazy for doing it in our camper van, but when we got to the parking lot, there was a bunch of big RVs and some tiny sedans, so I guess it's pretty normal. Camping here was free, so we stayed overnight. Then we slept in until 11 a.m. before getting started on the hike. The hike was pretty mellow. It's 6 miles long, but you only gain 1,500 feet of elevation. Even with our long stops, it only took us 5 hours to complete. But the other obstacle with this hike is that while we were there, it was actually closed. There are 2 ways around this, and we did both of them, so you can kind of pick your poison. The hike is closed because the bridge is in need of structural upgrades. We ignored that and just went right across it. After you cross the bridge, you'll follow the mountain all the way to the bottom of Rob Roy Glacier. It's a lot more shaded than the other 2 hikes as well, and the views are just spectacular all the way up. On the way down, Rachel had the urge to take a dip in the freezing cold water. Then we continued to make our way down. Once we got to the bench that overlooks the valley, we split off to the right and frolicked down the grassy hills so we could attempt the other way around the closed bridge, which is wading through the river. I'd be really careful here because I'm sure it can be super dangerous, but we managed to make it across without any hiccups. Just make sure you find the most shallow and slow-moving portion of the river, and I think you should be fine. The rest of the hike was a breeze, walking through the sheep farm and enjoying the solidarity. An unexpected benefit of a closed hike is that unlike all the other ones, this one we had all to ourselves, besides the sheep. Then the drive back out was about as relaxing as a bumpy washboard dirt road can be. Lake Marion is located in Fiordland National Park, which is one of the most beautiful areas of the South Island, and it's partly why this hike is taking second place on my list. We didn't have a lot of time to complete it because we booked our Milford Sound cruise for that afternoon. I've made a detailed review of that experience, and I'll link it below in case you're interested. Luckily, the Lake Marion hike is only 4 miles long, with an elevation gain of only 1,300 feet, making it the easiest hike on the list. The hike up takes you over the river and then along a boardwalk until you'll start climbing up through a dense rainforest. There's a little outhouse at the top before you descend down into the lake. It was basically empty while we were there, but I'm sure with these kinds of views it can get pretty busy. I wish we had planned for a little more time to enjoy the lake, but I bet most people won't be jumping in and swimming around as much as we did. The crystal clear waters reflecting the surrounding mountains created a perfect scene that will stay with me forever. Okay, so now for the hike you've all been waiting for. When you get home from your New Zealand trip, people will start to ask you, what was the top highlight of your whole trip? This is what I found myself answering to that question: the Brewster Glacier. We started the hike barefoot since the hike starts right off the bat with a river crossing. After you get all booted up again, you'll start the super steep forest section before you get above the tree line and onto a steep ridge line that reminded me so much of the ridgeline hikes we have here on Oahu where I live. This is where you'll get your first glimpses of the glacier, which is nice because you can see your destination the whole way there. You'll take this ridgeline all the way to the hut, where you can take a potty break and eat some snacks, and then keep pushing up the mountain to the glacier. The actual trail only takes you to the Brewster Hut, and from there it's another hour following cairns to the glacier, making this a very steep, difficult 5-mile round-trip journey, with an elevation gain of 4,000 feet. We really took our time enjoying the glacier, so we spent 9 hours on the mountain, although I'm sure it could be done in 6 or 7 hours. When you get to the end of the hike, you'll be overlooking all these little baby blue glacier pools, and you'll have to scramble down the left-hand side of the hike to reach them. I could have spent hours exploring these pools and all the waterfalls, but we continued on to the main attraction, the Brewster Glacier. I guess walking through the ice wasn't enough for me, because I decided to take one more step and actually jump in the ice-cold water. I didn't last very long in there and quickly ran back outside to warm up, but I don't think I ever warmed up for the rest of the day. We ate our lunch and then meandered our way back down through the ice, rocks, and water to begin our long journey back down to the car. Before leaving, we took one last moment to really internalize the experience, and I wished I was staying in that little orange tent on the water's edge. So now you have my list of the top 5 hikes on New Zealand's South Island. I really hope you get good weather while you're there like we did. There were a few hikes that we did that didn't make this list, probably because there was bad weather and we just didn't get a very good view. I would keep that in mind as you're planning and give yourself some wiggle room so you can adjust your plans. That's what we did, and I would recommend doing that for your New Zealand trip because the weather is unpredictable there. It'll rain a lot. Anyway, I have hours and hours of footage of our New Zealand and Australia trip from this spring. I'll be editing and uploading those throughout the summer, so if you have any questions or you want to see more of our adventures, just subscribe to my channel and you can follow along and we'll just keep this thing rolling. I want to thank you for watching my video, and I hope you enjoy the South Island of New Zealand.